Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Angie Miller, owner and CEO of Lifespan Counseling Services, PLLC in Michigan. And you all may be wondering, why is Dr. Miller doing all these videos on the revelation of mental illness behind the mask? And the reason is to bring awareness, to bring the truth into the light of many of whom suffer from mental illness, and many of whom families have family members, children, their loved ones who suffer from mental illness, but yet they choose to live behind that mask due to fear, stigma, rejection, and just the fear of the unknown. What do I do? I bring before you my own experience being a mother of 4, 2 of whom suffer from mental illness, and a psychotherapist for 30 years, working with children, families in crisis, trying to get the child the help, trying to help themselves help their child. This has been an ongoing trauma for many of us. Some who just refuse to take off that mask. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the youngest of 7 children. And wasn't very close to my older siblings since I was the youngest. And being the youngest, 12 years later, after the supposed been youngins, I led a very sheltered life. My parents grind my head into the school book nearly every day. My father made certain, you're going to be that child, that you're going to be a doctor. You're not going to get married till you're 35. They were pretty strict. Both of my parents came from the South, Georgia. My father, he didn't have the best life. He ended his education in the 3rd grade because he had to take care of his family, as he had to pick cotton on the field because his father passed early, and he had to take care of his rest of his family. It was 9 of them. And I think he wanted to get out of there. After 18, he took off. He met my mother. She lived on the other side of the fence. My mother was very fair. She kind of passed as Caucasian, but she wasn't. My father always shared a story also that when they were coming up north, he had to drive her in the back seat of the car because he had to act like he was the chauffeur. Because back in those days, you would get lynched or shot. A black man seen with a white woman, although my mother was not completely white. But they came up north saying, we're going to move away from this discrimination. We're going to go up north. We're going to have a productive life. And they did. Their life was much different than it would have been in the South. But my mother and father, oh, bless their hearts, they had a lot of issues on their own. My mother suffered from depression. My father suffered from anxiety. He was an emotional eater. I picked up some of those traits. They didn't know how to express themselves and feelings. The best way they knew how was to argue, or there was some domestic abuse as well that I was exposed to with my parents. And coming from a very strict family, my father being a minister, working at Chrysler, my mom a homemaker, and she later on got her diploma. I was so proud of her as well. And my father being a minister because she taught him how to read and write. They were very strict with me though. I just couldn't get away with nothing. I was that child, had to stay home, stay in the book. And I do appreciate it now looking back. But I led such a sheltered life. At 18, I said, I got to go. So when I got out on my own at 18, that's when I met my kids' fathers. Each one of my kids had their own father. There are 4 different fathers to my children. I used to be ashamed of that a long time ago, but no more. It is what it is. And I love each one of them. Each one of them is a blessing. But I learned I was very codependent, and they had substance abuse issues. And I'm also a survivor of domestic abuse. And they were exposed to that abuse. And I had to make some decisions. Am I going to continue to be in these relationships, being physically abused, my children being exposed, or am I going to make a life, a pathway for me and my children? And that's what I chose to do. I got my degrees from Mary Grove College, from Wayne State University, and Capella University, and went into the field of mental health. And at that time, I discovered a lot about myself and my children. Like I said, two who have mental health issues. And at that point in time, I had to take off my mask. No more mask. Get into the root of the problems that's bringing this to the forefront. No therapist is perfect. We have our own issues. But somehow, some people may not want to acknowledge that because they're going to be classified, oh, they're deficient. We don't want them as our therapist. No, we are all human. And the best way to be with anyone is be as transparent and honest as you can. That's what makes a good therapist, being true and authentic. And through my children's struggles with mental illness, it taught me something as well. It taught me that many of the parents who refuse to get their children help is because they're living in their own shame. And when I think about that Oxford shooting, maybe that's why they didn't. Maybe because they were living their own shame through their child. Take off that mask and get your child some help. And that's what I did. Now, people are going to judge me and look at me differently. And I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay. Because when I was younger, I wasn't okay with how people looked at me. I was bullied in school. I came home one day and took 7 Tylenols, over-the-counter Tylenols, because I didn't want to live anymore because I was being bullied. If I told my parents, them being from the South, they would have told me, get over it, you're fine. But as I got my education and get to know me and found out what my children's struggles were, I had to move forward and get them the help they need. As a society, we need to unchain our minds and know that these children are struggling too. And that child, that Oxford school shooting child, that could have been your child. That could have been your child. And I have one child that's currently incarcerated now. I tried to get help for him before this incarceration happened. I couldn't even get no help. I couldn't even get help from the people that's supposed to help our children. But it's okay. Today, I just want to bring it out to the forefront. We have to remove our mask. Society needs to come from those chained minds of punishing those who have mental illness and throwing them away in the criminal justice system. I want to bring the awareness up front, and I want to educate and teach as many as I can. Just get the help you need. Get the help your child need. That is the motivation behind my videos. Subscribe to my videos, Dr. Angie Miller, and stay blessed.